The River King by Lane Walker, Chapter 16, page 69. We didn't want to look like wimps, but none of us really wanted to fish except Chris. We had wanted to get past the cemetery during daylight, but now it was too late. I watched as the rest of the sun disappeared and the horizon turned black. We fished the hole for another 20 minutes when Johnny hooked a big fish. He had learned something from watching me battle the big fish earlier. He fought the fish for over 5 minutes before his weight started to tire him out. Johnny was patient, but we were all anxious to see a river king up close. He fought the fish for another 10 minutes without making up much ground. The fish had taken about 20 yards of his line. Johnny only managed to gain back about 5 yards. Just be patient. We don't have anywhere to go right now, Chris encouraged him. Johnny held fast and kept pressure on the rod without reeling. He could feel the fish working the current and trying to gain leverage. The drag on the rod squealed and the fish tested him. The fish went to make another run, but Johnny countered. He could feel the fish tiring, so now he could reel and pump the rod to bring the fish to the side of the raft. Chris swooped down, netting the giant. Of course, just like we all knew it would be Johnny, Johnny was the first one to catch a river king. The northern pike was really huge. David grabbed his tackle box to get the tape measure. The river king measured 38 inches. Johnny sat back on his bucket, worn out. He flashed a big grin, knowing the satisfaction of catching a true river king. His face looked just like Mr. Hill's did on the slide in class, a look of appreciation and amazement. During the fight, we had all gotten really loud and excited. Even though there were no houses around, we were sure we could have been heard for a mile away. We were thrilled and didn't care if we were noisy. The rest of the world didn't exist. It was just the four of us alone on the Cast River adventure. We had made an agreement before the trip to keep only the fish we needed to eat. The rest we would catch and release. We were out of fish, so we decided to keep the big pike, and David filleted it for dinner. By the time we pulled anchor, it was well after 9:00 p.m. when I looked at my watch. It got darker earlier and felt much later than it was. David hesitantly pulled the anchor, and the raft rocked back and forth before heading downriver. The four of us were quiet as we floated closer and closer to the lost cemetery. The full moon slowly peeked out of the darkness, showing all its splendor. I thought this moon looked like a giant white pizza. We didn't even need to turn on the lantern because the moon provided all the light we needed. You guys realize that tonight at 12:01 a.m. it's Halloween? Asked Johnny. Chris chuckled. David and I both smiled nervously. Look, exclaimed David in awe, and pointed. There, against the horizon in the distance, was an eerie outline of the cemetery. The moon lit the banks of the river and illuminated the old wrought iron fence surrounding the cemetery. As we got closer, headstones materialized in the distance. David took the lantern and went to the front of the raft and announced, "Guys, we have a big problem." He pointed downriver. 100 yards in front of us, directly in the middle of the river, was a big fallen tree. Its trunk stretched from the left side of the river to the cemetery on the right side of the river, where its top had landed. David quickly dropped the raft's anchor. We were now stranded in the middle of the river next to the cemetery. Looking to our right, the background was full of headstones and statues. It seemed like we had anchored the raft in the scariest spot possible. We can't make it through with that tree in the middle of the river, Johnny explained the obvious. We're going to have to figure this out in daylight. It's too dangerous in the dark, Chris decided. Looks like we're sleeping here tonight. Chapter 17. Sleep here? Are you crazy? I asked. If truth be told, I was as white as a sheet already. He's right, Bobby. We don't have a lot of options. We'll figure it out in the morning. We still have a lot of river to cover to make it to our pickup, David agreed. I looked back and noticed Chris and Johnny had already started fishing. What are you guys doing? What do you want us to do? Hide in our sleeping bags? I came to fish, Chris declared. I didn't expect us to go to bed early or hide, but fishing was the last thing on my mind. I couldn't take my eyes off the cemetery. I had never seen one at night. It was spooky. I squinted, and I could make out the old railroad tracks that ran directly parallel to the river next to the cemetery. We are safe on the raft in the water, at least, that's what I told myself. Unfortunately, that didn't add much comfort. I went to the tent and grabbed my fishing pole when I heard excitement coming from David. Chris had something big on his lure. Like a professional, Chris waited for the perfect time and set the hook. Chris had hooked a river king. Maybe this place wasn't as creepy as I had thought. Perhaps it was a good thing the tree had fallen. There was no way we would have fished here otherwise. We had planned to get at least a mile past this point before anchoring for the night, but of course the tree had changed our plans. "He's a big one, boys," cried Chris as he muscled and fought the big fish. Judging by the arc on his poles, this fish was even bigger than David's. "I got one too," Johnny yelled from the other side of the raft. Two on at one time? The cemetery was producing some of the best fishing of the trip. "You think you hooked another river king?" Johnny asked. "No. You think you hooked another river king, Johnny?" I asked. "I don't know. Whatever it is, it's heavy." David ran in and grabbed the lantern. I took a flashlight over to help Johnny. 2 river kings at one time. Mr. Hill was never going to believe us. He told us we would be lucky if we caught 2 river kings total, but we had 2 on at one time. The nighttime air was filled with the sound of our excitement and the loud hollering of the 4 of us. "I hope we don't wake the dead," Chris said with a smirk. "You're not funny, dude," I quickly shot back. It took Chris another couple of minutes, but he finally pulled in his fish. It was a huge pike, even bigger than David's. Chris had his river king. David grabbed the tape measure. We were blown away. That fish measured 41 inches. While we helped Chris land his fish, Johnny kept fighting his river king. For some reason, it seemed like he wasn't making much headway. The fish kept his weight on the line, but Johnny was only able to reel in a little bit. Chris holding up his fish in the moonlight as a mental picture I'll never forget. Chris holding up his fish in the moonlight is a mental picture I'll never forget. Then he decided to let it go. "I hope this fish can make someone else feel this good," he explained. I was shocked. I had planned on eating fresh pike for dinner. David brought the lantern over as we both encouraged Johnny. Guys, stop," Chris said, coming over. "What? I can't lose this fish," Johnny grunted as he strained every muscle in his body to land the fish.